Hi, my name is Jim Parker. If you've been watching these videos for some time and you're finding the information useful and you're liking the videos, please do me a favor, take a moment right now before you forget and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. I really would. Thank you very much and enjoy the upcoming program. Welcome, fellow business brokers. Today, let's chat about one of the most confrontational and contested things in business brokerage today, and that is, of course, co-brokering. And I'm really excited to be talking about that topic today. Anybody that knows me and really knows my philosophy on business brokerage knows that co-brokering is a huge passion for me. I just want to get right in, introduce the panelists, and usually we ask a lot of questions for about 45 minutes. Today, I'm going to ask the panelists just a few questions, and then we're going to immediately open it up to people from all over the country to chime in. And I want to hear your comments, your questions. I want to hear whether you're for co-brokering or against co-brokering. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I think this is going to be one of the most entertaining webinars that we've had up to date. And I'm really, really excited for it. So let's go ahead and let's rumble. Today, we've got with us Roberta. How you doing today, Roberta? Roberta, you're going to have to take your mute off. Sorry. Roberta, how you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Roberta is the founder and the managing director of Capital Business Solutions. It's an international firm specializing in Main Street M&A transactions. Roberta is a material expert and best-selling author on business brokerage for Dearborn University, which was formerly known as Kaplan. She's a 16-time winner of the state's $1 Million Plus Award, multiple-time winner of the top 50 in the sales in Florida, and this year's recipient of one of the state's highest honors, the 2019 Chairman's Award, recognizing outstanding work and dedication to the industry. I'm so glad you could join us today, Roberta.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We also got with us today, we got Treve. Treve, how you doing today?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Treve is the vice president of sales for Transworld for the last 11 years. He oversees 80 brokers in Transworld. And with those 80 brokers, they have over 1,100 listings, and they've had over 350 closings per year, and 35% of those are co-broked. I'm really glad you could join us today, Treve.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And I think this is the first time that we've ever had this, but this week, we've got two people from the same company. And we also got Joe Santora. He is also with Transworld. Joe, you're from North Carolina or South Carolina?
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay. Joe is a member of the Carolina Virginia Business Broker Association, otherwise known as the CVBBA, and he's been instrumental in trying to bring co-brokering to the CVBBA over the last few years. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
All right. So I'm going to just go ahead and I want to ask you guys a few questions. Roberta, I'm going to throw this right at you. What do you think is the best thing about co-brokering?
Well, I think it opens the playing field for you that, let's say that Transworld, that's one of the largest business brokerage firms in the world, has 1,100. They're able to exponentially increase the amount of available inventory that they can service their clientele with through co-brokering, as evidenced by the fact that 35, and I've heard before, 40% of all of their closings are predicated on co-brokered deals.
All right, great.
Huge advantage.
Great. And somebody's got a lot of audio in the background. I don't know, Roberta, that might be you, and I apologize to point you out. Treve, I got to say, Transworld has been very, very supportive of co-brokering here in Florida, but I know you guys are also extremely supportive of co-brokering all over the country with all your franchisees. What's your guys' philosophy over there at Transworld about co-brokering?
Yeah, Transworld right now, we have, 200 plus or minus offices around the country. And our philosophy, it all came from Florida, where we do such a large amount of co-brokering, and it's a large amount of our income and our revenue. So we have taught across our board, you know, Joe being evidence here today on this, that the co-brokering is a good thing. So we pretty much have a rule within Transworld, even with the franchisees, that we co-broke amongst each other, because we all know, you know, that we're going to sell more businesses if we do that. And so, you know, we try to co-broke with everybody. Just about anyone who calls us we'll co-broke with. But, you know, we've just found that it just makes us more money in the end.
Okay, great, great. Hey, Joe, how's it going up in CVBBA? I know you guys have been working on that. You and a couple other people have been working on bringing co-brokering to the CVBBA over the last couple of years. You guys worked really hard at it. You know, where does that stand right now?
Yeah, so we're finally gaining some traction. It's call it a labor of love, I guess, because it's definitely labor. But we're in the process now. There seems to be interest throughout the membership in co-brokering and the possibility of an MLS. So what we're working on now, with the help of you and the BBF, which we greatly appreciate, is trying to draft potential rules of what it would look like, so that we can share with the members and, you know, make them feel good about implementing this, with them having a clear understanding of how it would operate.
All right, great. How many members do you guys got in the CVBBA?
We're a little over 100 right now, but we're growing. We just joined. Well, we've been an IBBA affiliate, but now we have a dual membership with IBBA, and so we're starting to see an influx of new members coming in as a result of that partnership.
All right. Excellent, excellent. And I would say, you know, I'm going to let everybody out there know that today I'm not going to hide it. I am the host of this show, but I'm not going to hide the fact that I am a huge, huge supporter of co-brokering. I'm the state president of the Business Brokers of Florida, and anybody that knows anything that's going on in Florida, we are known as a co-brokering state down here in Florida. The BBF, Business Brokers of Florida, have been doing co-brokering now for 20 years. Before the BBF, there was another organization. So altogether, we've been doing co-brokering successfully in Florida now for 35 years. And I also instruct and teach the classes on the rules and regulations for co-brokering. So any new member that joins the BBF has to go through that. And I just wanted to disclose the fact that I am not going to be unbiased today. I'm going to be very biased. It's something that I have a huge passion for. And Joe, you guys were nice enough, what was it, last year, to invite me up to the CVBBA to talk to you guys at your conference. And it was I was very humbled that you guys had me there. And it was great meeting your membership, and it was wonderful talking to your membership about co-brokering. And I'm really glad that you guys are making inroads, and you know, it's amazing what you guys have done up there. And I wish you guys the best in fulfilling that goal.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We appreciate you coming out, taking the time, you and Andy. And I think our members gained quite a bit from having a better understanding of somebody that's doing it and how it was working.
All right, great, great. Well, hey, guys, I just want to let you know, let's switch over right now. I want to start bringing people in. If they can raise their virtual hand, and you just raise your virtual hand and we can plug you in and let you guys talk. We've already got somebody right now. And when I bring you in, you got to make sure that you unmute yourself. You're going to see your name on the screen, and just unmute yourself and then give us your comment, your question. Just try to make it 30 seconds or less. But when you first get on the phone, tell us where you're calling from. That'd be excellent. Janice, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sure can. Where are you calling from, Janice?
Phoenix, Arizona.
All right. I think we were going back and forth about it with emails earlier this week, weren't we, Janice?
Yes, Jim, that's the case. I think that co-broking really became a major concern not a concern, but a major way for business brokers to make money. Actually, here in Arizona, our organization goes back to 1985, and it was very, very popular and successful for all its members for about 15, 20 years. And in the mid-2000s, it sort of fell apart because everybody became independent brokers, not associated with a company like Sunbelt or VR. I started out at VR in '86. But at one time, most of our organization was doing co-brokes in excess of 50% of their business. I would typically, as an individual, sell about 15 businesses a year. And you could easily see 65% of those for many years was co-broke. And even
Wow.
now, most of my deals are way over $1 million. And I tend to, still a great deal of them are co-broke.
Great, great. Wow, that's a huge number. Because I'm going to say in Florida, on average, about a third of the deals that happen in Florida among BBF members is co-broked. So you're talking
most
60.
of the people don't have. I have a different perspective in that I've been president of our chair of our state organization, and people are very aware of me and my methods. And so the average person is not doing what Janice is doing. They mostly are not doing one co-broke a year.
But you're still co-brokering, right? To this date.
Absolutely.
To this day. All right. What happened in Arizona that you guys were co-brokering successfully for 15 years and then it disappeared? Is it just
I think a lot of that is because people went out on their own and they thought they needed to make 100% of the commission, but 100% of nothing is nothing. So
Right.
Well
I
said.
still will say I probably do more deals than any of them. And I only work part-time.
Wow. Okay.
So but you know, people know who I am. They know my methods, and that makes a big difference. So I can get people that typically won't co-broke, even in the M&A sector, that other people probably could not do.
And are you with a major company or you have an independent company?
I'm independent. Well,
Okay.
I'm with a real estate office that's independent, but I was with a company that was 100% real estate company, but we had 37 business brokers for many, many years.
Okay. And I if I'm going to chime in, and then anybody on our panelists
Hey,
want to
Jim,
chime
I
in.
wanted to throw something out there because she was talking about some people don't co-broke. Even here in Florida, we have brokers here in Florida that do not belong to the association that do not co-broke. You know, and that's their choice. And you know, it harms their clients, in my opinion, but that is their choice. And you know, the associations like they're getting in North Carolina, there might be some brokers that choose not to join the association and not to co-broke, and that's okay. You know, co-broking is a benefit for the members of the association. Everybody in the association benefits it. But if someone believes that they just can't do it or don't want to do it, they don't have to join. They don't have to do it. You know, and we have that here in Florida.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I want to touch on that, but I want to touch on that, Treve, but I want to first address something Janice said. She was saying that most of these people in Arizona, what happened was that they were going away from the big companies, VR, Sunbelt, Transworld, and they were starting to open independent companies, and that kind of everything fell apart. You know, Joe and Treve are with Transworld, which, if you guys aren't aware, Transworld is the largest business broker organization in the world right now. Roberta owns a very large business broker organization with offices throughout the country. I personally, it's me and 4 other agents at my office. We're a very, very small company. And I'm going to tell you, I am 100% behind co-brokering. I don't think it matters if it's just you and you're a sole proprietor and you're the only agent at your company, or if you're with Transworld, Sunbelt, VR, Capital, Business Brokers, anybody. I think co-brokering can be successful, you know, no matter what the size is, and it's huge. Go ahead, Roberta.
If you look at the National Association of Realtors, there's over 1 million members that have opted to pay very hefty fees. They have a lot of educational requirements in order to belong, and they have a huge MLS. 1 million people can't be wrong. They have other opportunities. They could belong to Zillow or Realtor.com or a myriad of other MLSs out there. But because of the mandate to co-broker on that the NAR maintains, all of these members know and are and continue their membership because they're making a whole lot more money in doing so.
Right. Joe, did you want to say something? I think I cut you off.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just, Treve was saying, I just wanted to touch on what he was saying. He said that it was, you know, co-brokering was best for the members, but honestly, it's best for the business brokering community in general. I mean, our goal, I mean, we're putting these sellers under a 12-month agreement in most cases. We have a responsibility to get their business sold, and I don't care who brings the buyer to the table. If I'm not exploring all options, I'm doing them a disservice. And, MLS or co-brokering is really the way to do that. If I'm getting ready to list my house for sale, with Remax, and they tell me that, they're not going to allow Allen Tate or Caldwell or any of the other real estate companies to bring buyers to the table, would I actually list my house for sale with them? It's not going to get the proper exposure, and most sellers out in the world just don't know, because brokers don't disclose that to them.
Joe, I appreciate that comment. And I kind of believe with you, and I'm going to go out on a limb. And anybody that's been watching these webinars knows that I get opinionated sometimes. And, I don't mean to get anybody upset, but again, this is something that I really have a big passion for, is co-brokering. I think that you truly are doing a disservice to your seller by not co-brokering. And you know what? I want everybody to call in. I want everybody to call in today that's against co-brokering. I want to hear why you're against co-brokering. But at the end of the day, I think you've got to keep an open mind. Really, by co-brokering, you're given the best opportunity and chances to sell that business the quickest you can possibly sell it, and selling it for the highest dollar amount that you could possibly sell it for. So, I want to hear what people have to say, but I got to tell you, I'm 100% for co-brokering. Now, when I say that, and anybody, Joe, Treve, Roberta, tell me if you disagree. I'm talking about Main Street business brokerage. We start getting into M&A deals when we're the deals that are going to be attractive to, private equity groups, things like that. I can understand why you don't want to co-broke in those type of situations, but, businesses that are selling for a couple $1 million and under, Main Street businesses, I think you should be co-brokering. Do you guys have any input on that, Roberta?
Well, if you look at it, 9 out of 10 buyers that come to the table for a specific opportunity in a specific industry don't end up purchasing that business nor that industry. So if you only have a reservoir of 50 or 100 or 150 listings versus what the BBF offers, which is over 3,000 listings, to then satisfy those buyers, literally you could be losing 7, 8, 9 out of 10 buyers that are at your doorstep. It's a numbers game. Business brokerage, like anything, is a numbers game when it comes to sales. And to turn your back on that number of transactions that you're missing out on, it's just counterintuitive.
Roberta, right before I got on this call, I checked the BBF MLS. Today, right now, we have 3,096 businesses for sale in Florida that I can co-broke, that Roberta can co-broke. So, it's not just the listings that I have or the listings my agents have. I have 3,096 businesses that I can put in front of buyers. And the stats are 90% of the time buyers buy something other than what they were originally calling about. So, you have the ability to keep those buyers.
So I just want to throw something out there Roberta touched on. She said, the offices may only have 50 or 100 or 150 listings. I'd be willing to bet that most of the brokers out there don't have 50 listings. A lot of brokers are out there, 1, 2-person, 3-person shops, and they don't have 50 listings to show those buyers. And, I just think that, co-brokering, especially for the smaller shops, is really, really important, even more so for the bigger shops like we are at Transworld.
I was being generous.
It's a frustrating process when you're working, especially when you have a well-qualified buyer. I recently ran into a situation. I've got a well-qualified buyer, SBA pre-approved, had $500,000 in capital for a down payment. I contacted somebody within my own association that had a sanitation company listed for sale that fit the bill for what this buyer was looking for, and they would not co-broker the deal. They offered a referral fee, but the buyer wanted buyer representation. And we just couldn't, we couldn't come to terms on it. And that hurts both my buyer and their seller. And I feel like that's a huge disservice to our industry.
I agree. Totally agree. Greg, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Sure can. Where are you calling from, Greg?
I'm in Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, wow. Thank you for joining us today from Canada, Greg.
Well, see, I'm going to differ with what you've all been saying, and it's time somebody got in who did.
All right, take some swings at us, Greg.
All right. I'm the president of Sunbelt in Canada.
Okay.
And we have We have 30 offices across the country. And of course, we co-broke amongst all the Sunbelt offices. But I'm also the president of the IBBA in Canada. And I got a rule. I will co-broke with anybody who's got a CBI. However, we're licensed requirements, and there are thousands of realtors who think they're business brokers who do a terrible job of analyzing and packaging. And I've sold 3 businesses in Florida recently. One of them I co-brokered with Transworld. The other 2 I did myself. Now, what were these? Canadian buyers who wanted to buy a business in Florida. Well, to do those deals, I went through a great number of the businesses available through your association. The packaging was awful on most of them. Documentation was terrible on most of them. I'm not going to co-broker with people who do a crappy job. So you got to have some kind of standards that you enforce so that when we're co-brokering, we can have confidence in the job that's being done by the person on the other side of the deal. So that's my comment. By the way, if I look at the statistics, well, typically Sunbelt in Canada, we've got roughly 1,000 businesses for sale at any given time. So we do have a lot of opportunities. Through the rest of IBBA in Canada, and most of those folks have earned their CBI, you can double that. Sunbelt's probably half the business in Canada, so we got roughly 2,000 businesses available across the country. And keep in mind, our population's not much more than Florida. We're a small country in terms of population. So
we got about 20 million up there, right? 23
no,
million?
we're more like 38 million.
38, okay.
Okay. So when I look at this, yes, I'm happy to co-broker with competent people, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm forced to co-broker with incompetent people. And even looking at all the stuff I went through in Florida, I saw lots of incompetence with the brokers who were doing the packaging. So well, I'm interested in how you respond to that.
Oh, Greg, I am so glad. Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Roberta down there, I can see she's just ready to swing back. So, Roberta,
well,
go ahead.
you know, no, Greg, I agree with you 1,000%. And we as a group are fully aware of the shortcomings of the BBF. We understand that folks don't want to co-broker with people that are less than qualified. We understand that someone like Greg Kells, doesn't want to do double the work for half the fee. We understand about controlling confidentiality and that you all work hard. And why should you share commissions? Those are all valid objections. But what we're promoting here is that the BBF has learned from their mistakes, that we started as an open platform. And unfortunately, we have a lot of folks that are not qualified, that are members of the BBF. And so there's no doubt in what you're saying that, we're fortunate that living, working, breathing business brokerage in Florida, we know those agents which are very capable, very expertise, and those companies that have great mentorship. We're also very much aware of the shortcomings of many of the real estate houses, etc., that were grandfathered in. Now, we've made changes and we've set some very stringent contingencies to join the BBF now that were never in place before. So we do have folks that are grandfathered in. However, to try and bring and raise the level, all of our monies, all of our time and expertise is going now to training and educating that membership and trying to make up for the very liberal admittance that we had previously. But all of these new associations, whether it's California, Carolina, it doesn't matter. We're here to help them circumvent those issues that we had and those mistakes that we've made, and show them how to avoid them, so that each of those objections that we talked about, you can prevent from happening by making the entrance requirements for those that are experienced, well mentored, and trained.
Yeah, I really appreciate.
I applaud what you're doing, Roberta, and it's the right move. I had the privilege of teaching some of the IBBA courses in Florida last year, and I'm glad to see the level of competence rising as people take advantage of great education.
I would like to, let me throw it in here too, Greg, because I am the state chairman of the Business Brokers of Florida. And you know, you seem like a great guy, Greg. And, you know, when we're ever at an IBBA conference together, I'd love to sit down and have a beer with you. But, you know, you did take a good swing at me and my organization, and I love that. And, you know, it's friendly banter, and I want to do some friendly banter back. And I want to kind of elaborate a little bit on what Roberta was saying. You know, our organization is 20 years old. We used to be an open source organization. 2 years ago, we changed our bylaws to make it more strict on what you could, on who could become a member of the Business Brokers of Florida. So now that somebody wants to join the Business Brokers of Florida, they have to either show us that they've closed on a number of transactions on the listing side, or they have had to have taken numerous classes through the IBBA. So we've tried to improve the people coming to the organization. Unfortunately, we did have to grandfather in, you know, the members that were already members of the association. And unfortunately, some of them are residential real estate agents. But I want to say this. We've got over 1,050 business brokers in Florida. And I don't think there is a state or a regional organization that is as large as our organization. And I'll tell you, I'm going to go one step further. I have met through workshops and classes and IBBA classes, I've met through doing these webinars, I've met some fantastic business brokers all over the country, including Canada, people that I think I have a lot of respect for, some of the best in the world. But I still want to say, if you look at the numbers, our membership right here in Florida, we have some of the best business brokers in the entire world right here in Florida. We do.
Oh, I'm not disputing.
Oh, Greg, let me finish. Let me finish real quick, Greg. I'll let you talk. Let me finish. If you go to the IBBA website and you look at the award winners for the IBBA for 2019, like 70% of the people that are the award winners are from the state of Florida. We are huge down here. We provide a lot of education, and I'm going to say that we do have some of the best business brokers in the world right here in Florida. Do we have some bad ones? Yeah, we have some residential real estate agents that were maybe not up to par, but we're trying to get them up to par. We're trying to get them the education, but at the end of the day, we also have some of the best in the world. And I don't know, Roberta, you want to chime in? We'll give it back to Greg after you talk.
Yeah, well, I'll just say that we have been so encouraged by the number of realtors and the participation in our educational seminars that are being given all over the state of Florida. So unfortunately, a lot of these folks started out as realtors. They went to a real estate company and they lacked the mentorship and hence the expertise to draw on. So it's true, Greg, but just know that we're in the process of improving. And what Jim is saying is absolutely true. I think in Florida in 6 months, we've closed over $110 million in sales. So I have to believe that there is a very high level of expertise to be able to accomplish that in a 6-month period. And I think, again, when you compare our sales and our level of earnings to other parts of the world, you'll find that, again, Florida is a shining star amongst them.
It was $500 million a year we sell. We sell over $500 million in businesses a year. Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I know there's lots of great brokers in Florida, and I've worked with many of them. So I applaud what you're doing about increasing the skill levels of your membership. Those are great things you're doing. So I don't mean this to be a knock on the association, but I think when you come to co-brokering, you want to be a little bit picky about who you're co-brokering with.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does go
It
both ways.
absolutely goes both ways.
And
So,
I'll tell you, well, I'm sorry, Roberta. I'm sorry.
no,
Let me swing
I
it back.
was just saying, we're hoping that as more states become co-brokering states, that they will institute those tough admission requirements from the onset, so that when you are within a co-brokering situation, that the person on the other side of the transaction will be able to manage either buy or sell side responsibilities adequately, so that you are not doing double the work for half the pay. And that's why forums like this are amazing.
Way, Greg. I feel this way. You know, you came across a couple brokers in Florida. Unfortunately, for some reason, you came across maybe a couple of the business brokers that are not BBF members are not as good. But I'm going to tell you overall, you know, I do this. I'm a BBF member for 20 years. And, you know, the co-brokering that we have going on in our state and the people that I work with, I have so much respect for so many of our members. And, you know, yes, there's a few bad apples, you know, in our association, but overall, most of our business brokers, most of our members in the BBF are fantastic. And you know what? The fact that me and Roberta are saying, yeah, there are a few in our organization that are not up to par. I'm going to flip this back to you, Greg. You said you've got what? You know, how many business brokers do you have in Sunbelt in Canada and the United States? Are you ready to tell me on this webinar right now in front of the whole world that 100% of the members of Sunbelt are up to par of where they need to be a premier business broker? Are you willing to say that?
I am willing to say that even the worst of my brokers is a good broker. I don't have any poor brokers.
You know what? I just want to remind you that I do co-broke, you know, with all different companies here in Florida. Whether it's Sunbelt, VR, Transworld, and I'm going to tell you the large companies, you know, it's just like any other organization in the world. You've got some phenomenal brokers with those large companies. You got some okay brokers, and you got some that need a little bit more training. And I can't believe you. I don't know.
Right. Let me ask you, Greg. So you said there's about how many brokers are there in Canada?
Okay. In Sunbelt, I have roughly 100. And throughout the rest of IBBA in Canada, probably another 100.
So you have a total of 200? You're talking
so there's
about,
only 200 of us in the whole country.
So you're talking about a population of 200 where there's very strict requirements. They're coming from Sunbelt that has their own training program, or they're coming out of IBBA that has their own training program. So again, you've never encountered, you're talking about 1/5 of our organization. I mean, I'm the president of the South District, and we have, what, 550 agents here, Jim?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a much larger population that started, again, as an open forum. And I think we're acknowledging what you're saying, but it's much easier to manage 200 agents under 2 educational forums than it is opening up to a population and trying to bring that population up and increase the experience and educational levels.
Yeah. And I got to say this co-brokering, you know, among 200 business brokers throughout the United States and Canada that you guys do, you know, in reality, you guys really co-brokering every single day among each other. I mean, because most buyers are looking, you know, when it comes to Main Street businesses, most brokers are looking in a geographical area. You know, they're looking for a particular city. And if your franchise is just in that one city, most of the time you're not going to be, I wouldn't imagine you're co-brokering somebody in, you know, Vancouver is not going to be co-brokering with somebody in Seattle that often. but here I am in Orlando, Florida, and I'm co-brokering with agents from all over, from all different companies, large companies, small companies, medium-sized companies every day, because we're in the same geographical area. So, I don't know if that's the same situation. And, I only co-broke with BBF members. I don't, a residential real estate agent that's not a BBF member, they want to co-broke. No, I won't co-broke with them. I'm going to co-broke with the people that can get deals done. But Greg, I appreciate you calling in, and I'm sorry I got a little testy, but I genuinely love the business brokers of Florida. I genuinely love the BBF, and I devote a lot of my time to the BBF, and I love the BBF because of the people that make up the BBF. And I'm going to tell you, most of the people in the BBF are good business brokers that are very knowledgeable. They're good people, and just like anybody, we have bad apples in our association. Just you take any association out there.
There's a new wave also what's going on, Greg, and I don't know, and hopefully you're fortunate enough not to have that, but there's a lot of marketing companies that are out there that are really behaving recklessly across the country, where they call themselves a marketing company when actually they're a solicitation company for businesses, and then they assign those businesses to anyone, whether they're licensed, experienced, not experienced, mentored or not mentored. It's, it's highly illegal, it's unethical, and it's something that, we know that the Florida Real Estate Commission is working on. We know that other commissions are also working on it. It's hard to pinpoint, hard to stop. But again, that's something that we need to contend with, and it is something that's happening, across the United States. I'm not sure about Canada, but I'm sure, again, they've been flying under the radar. They're getting a lot more attention now, and I'm sure that type of activity will come to an end as well.
Great. Thank you, Roberta.
I think going a little bit to Greg is, I've known Greg for a long time also from the IBBA. He's absolutely right. Here in Florida, we have some bad brokers. Look, I've got some brokers who aren't great that work for me, and I'm sure Roberta does as well. And Jim, you're a little bit smaller, you may not. But at the end of the day, I think the IBBA average is 1 out of every 5 listings that gets listed closes. Here in Florida, even with those bad brokers, I think we're closer to 30%. And, that's a big number. And I would attribute it, a large part of that, to the co-brokerage thing.
Great point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that every city has bad business brokers. Every city and every, company of a decent size has bad business brokers. But I appreciate you chiming in there, Treve. I really do.
But Treve, let me just say that at least in Transworld or Capital or Boss or whatever company, they're professional business brokerage firms, and we offer the guidance and the mentorship and education that people need. We don't just sign them up and send them out.
Yeah, no,
I think that's an important differentiation between certain types of companies and a dedicated business brokerage firm.
And if I could say something to Joe and Steve from the Carolina, Virginia Business Brokers Association, and actually say this to all the members in CVBBA, I think that if you guys talk to the BBF members one-on-one, you'd find overall that co-brokering down here, most business BBF members are very happy with it. The one big advice that I would give you guys is immediately upon doing instituting co-brokering in your organization, set those minimum standards that took us 18 years to do it. And we just did it a couple years ago. Do that right off the bat. Wouldn't you agree, Treve and Roberta?
Yep, you prevent a lot of heartache later on.
Yeah,
or heartburn.
Like Roberta touched on several times, prior to the last couple of years, they pretty much just let anyone into the BBF who would pay the fee. And, there are some out there that just, they don't have the experience or the background, and they're difficult. And,
they're grandfathered in now.
And probably by the time the 3 of us retire, it'll probably be much better.
Yeah. Hey, Alberta, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Where are you calling from, Alberta?
Boca Raton, Florida.
All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jim, Roberta, Treve, Joe. I have my own listings, but mainly I work with buyers. So I I sell other brokers' listings, and I've been doing this for many years. Uh, so you can say that in my case that co-brokering is my middleman. It's something I enjoy doing. I've had the pleasure of working with many great brokers, and I have learned a lot from them. I, I believe that most buyers appreciate that having somebody on their side, minimizing risks, and often tell the brokers that I work with that in the end we're in the same boat. We want the deal to close. So I enjoy co-brokering, and I do it all the time. I do run into some brokers that don't respond in a timely manner or don't provide the information that we need. And but I try to present to my buyers all the options possible, and and for me it has worked. It's been uh, very challenging sometimes. I think that being a buyer's broker requires many things, among them patience. And I'm a very patient and stubborn guy, and and I guess in a way many of us brokers are the same. We're kind of stubborn people, and to be in this industry. But
So
I'm
Alberta, you're
all
doing
for
like 100
co-brokerage.
percent of your 100% of your deals right now are being co-broked. Then almost.
Most of them, yes.
And
Yes.
you love it. You think co-brokering is the way to go.
I think it opens the possibilities for on both sides, and 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 definitely have a lot of buyers that are out there, and and not many brokers take the time to find them something. uh, I've had the chance of working with many that were thinking on certain industry, and they ended up buying something completely different. And you have that as a broker you need to
Yep.
to think out of the box, and find them something that makes sense.
Alberto, I think that's fantastic. I really, really appreciate you calling in, and thank you for being a member of the BBF. And, I know you're a valued member of the BBF, and I really appreciate that you're a member.
And a South District Award winner this
And
year. Again,
congratulations again.
Alberto.
Good job, Alberto.
Yes.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
One of the very, very knowledgeable BBF members that we have. Thank you. Nikolai, are you with us?
I am.
You are. You're calling from the West Coast, right? West Coast of Florida?
Sarasota, Florida.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Nikolai.
Oh, thank you for having me. I completely agree with Alberta and all previous speakers. So co-brokerage is the blood of this industry. As Alberta, I mostly represent buyers, foreign buyers, international buyers. So 90% of my business is co-brokerage, and of course I completely depend on co-brokerage. So you cannot find anybody who is more interested in co-brokerage in BBF, outside BBF. But still, I want to be more positive than Greg was, but I have a couple of suggestions which in my opinion can be helpful to improve co-brokerage. First of all, I'd like to suggest to establish a system of feedback on listings and brokers. That's most effective way to to separate people who don't fit, who cannot put accurate information in BOI, who lie you on the phone, who
Nikolai,
you
do you know?
during meetings when you bring customer, right? When you bring a buyer. So I don't want to get into technical details how to do that, but that's the most effective way to discipline people. Yeah, when I go to the meeting and I share results of my meeting with all BBF members, with all brokers in the world. So very soon we'll get rid of all these bad sheep. Second, I'm in a situation when I'm reaching this level when my commissions will be affected with this sliding scale of commission, which BBF implemented like a year ago, right? And I can tell you that I don't feel it's really fair, because when it was implemented, justification was that we spent much time nurturing these clients. We spent like year or 2 years before we get in listing. It's like assumption that people who spend their time with the investors who brings like $3, $5, $10 million to the deal, they spend like few minutes, which is wrong. Right. We spent several years, but we punished for bringing our clients to BBF members. So I'm not in a position, I don't want to get it to like many hours of discussion how it can be implemented and improved.
Yeah.
But I just want to bring to your attention that that rule discourages people from co-brokerage.
I think it's a topic.
I can go back to benefits versus.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that because we're getting into details.
I think it's off the topic of this conversation.
Yeah, and Nikolai, I appreciate you, bringing that, and I would love to have a conversation with you about that. And Joe and anybody from CVBBA, if you want to know what we're talking about, you can call me later. But yeah, I want to kind of get back to the topics of pro and con co-brokering. Real quick, what Nikolai is talking about is that any deals that are done that are under $1.5 million, the BBF members co-broker it 50-50. Any deals between 1.5 and what is it, Roberta, 3 million? 3 million. It's 60% to the listing agent, 40% to the selling agent.
5 million.
5 million. Yeah,
so
5 million.
5?
Yeah,
we're up to 5
and the thought process behind that is that as a listing agent, you're if you're doing a $2 million, $3 million deal, and you're doing it right, you probably have 100 hours or more into that deal before you even bring it to the market. I know that I spend 4 or 5 weeks just getting together my sim and all that. And at the end of the day, let's face it, listings are king. Listings are king in this industry, and that's what drives everything. So.
Anyways, to Nikolai's point, I mean, Ken Stebbins was a firm believer because, Jim, I agree with you. I always think it should be more in favor of the listing broker. But Ken Stebbins' feeling was, but cash is king, and it's the buyers that have the money. Right. So there are two schools of thought. So we're not dismissing what you're saying, Nikolai. There was just more of a majority that were in favor to the higher split for the listing side than not.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. We just had more people that were interested in it. So, Jason, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Where are you calling from, Jason?
I'm the Transworld franchisee up in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, you're a what franchisee? I'm sorry?
Transworld.
Transworld. Okay. Well, welcome to the show, Jason. You have a question or a comment?
Well, I'm just wondering how, BBF has a well-established co-brokering program. In Ohio, we don't really have one. Our state-based organization doesn't really have a defined program on how to co-broker. So when you run into a co-broker situation, in most cases, the person wanting to co-broker doesn't have E&O insurance to cover. So they have real estate E&O versus business brokerage E&O. So there's a gap there. Once they bring the buyer, a lot of times they disappear. It's a very difficult thing to understand what you're doing. And as much as Transworld has trained me to want to co-broker, in 5 years of being open, I've never co-brokered a deal. the deals where I've tried to co-broker, they've really turned out to be a dumpster fire and have fallen apart. So I'm wondering, how do we create and how do we use our organization, or how do we create rules to make an effective co-brokering situation? I love hearing about how successful you guys are, but we're light years behind you. How do we get there in an effective manner to make it safe for people?
Jim, hey, can I answer that?
Absolutely, Joe.
So, hey, Jason, our organization does not co-broke. I've been working on an MLS for 3 years now. It has been a uphill battle to get it implemented. People don't like change, but we're finally starting to gain traction. And the way that we've been doing that is education. You know, if it was up to me, it would, I would love to just flip the switch on and have it go right away. But unfortunately, in the reality of it is that it does not work that way. We've been working very closely with the BBF, Andy. We actually had them come out, and they were guest speakers at our conference to talk about the pros and cons of co-brokering and have open dialogue with our membership. They also talked about the basics of what an MLS system is. And so we've been openly engaging with our members, sending out surveys, trying to find out what percentage of our members co-broke and in what capacity. Is it all of the time, or is it, cherry picking or selective to who the other broker is, so on and so forth. So it's gaining a lot of data and then relying on associations that are currently doing it. And where we're at now is we have an MLS committee, with a couple of board members and then members of the association. And we have been working with the BBF, utilizing their platform and basically all their rules and regulations that they've already gotten in place and trying to replicate them to best fit our association, what we think would be for our members. And then we're going to take it out to presentation for our members and make them feel, make sure they feel good about it before we actually implement it as a standard. And Roberta and Jim and what they're talking about, we totally anticipate or plan on doing, and that is having minimum standards as far as to, what's going to be required, for a member to join the association.
Jim,
And
can I volunteer you that you would be happy to communicate with each and every organization throughout the country that has an interest in co-brokering, to hear what we do and how we do it, and answer all of their questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd absolutely do that, Roberta. I want to say something right now. I'm actually going to do another video after this where it's just myself, and it's going to probably be a 10-minute video where I'm going to be talking about the pros of co-brokering and get into all the details so that you guys can hear it all at one time. I think you got two issues going on right here that you're talking about, Jason. One is associations, and I think Joe did a great job talking about how do you take that approach as an association. But I know, Jason, you might also be talking about as an individual. Here you are, you're open to co-brokering. You may not have had good experiences with the people you've co-broked up to this point. How can you co-broke? And I'm going to go back to what Greg said, who called in earlier. And Greg, if you're still listening, that was all friendly banter going back and forth. And like I said, I want to get you a beer at the next IBBA conference. But what Greg said is, he's willing to co-broke with people in Sunbelt, which is his organization, and he's willing to co-broke with IBBA members that have their CBI. And Jason, that's how I would start. If you're in an area of the country, and I think you said Ohio, where there is no co-brokering, I would look at co-brokering with people that are that have their CBI through the IBBA, and you probably know who the good brokers are in town. And just call them up and just say, hey, Bob, this is Jason over at Transworld. I know you're a good business broker, and I just want to let you know, if you ever got a buyer for any of my listings, I'd be open to co-brokering with you. And I want to let you know that, if it's okay, if you got any listings that I can show my buyers, maybe could benefit us. And I think that's how you kind of start out. And that's how co-brokering originally started in Florida, was, just groups of brokers getting together and talking about trying to co-broker each other's deals. But again, I think it is important to make sure you're co-broking with good brokers.
And I really appreciate that, Jim. I'm one of 2 CBIs in Metro Columbus. And you're right, there are a handful of brokers who I know we can work deals with, and we basically just set up referral agreements. And I've actually left my state organization. I'm not a member of it anymore because it's not driving co-brokering for me the way that I see it. So I guess what I was thinking of is how do we, like I heard you guys talk about, you made massive changes within BVF in order to put some levels in and put some pay structures in. And, you know, if I want to co-broker with somebody right now, I'm questioning, you know, the co-brokerage agreement, I get it might be 70-30 with this person and 60-40 with this person and 80-20 here. And there's no standardization. And I'm wondering how we pull that in and what a standard program looks like. So when somebody joins BVF, is there a standard of here's how co-brokering works, here's what your expectation is on the buy side, here's what it is on the sell side, here's how it gets paid, here's what your experience gives you.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what detail you have.
Yeah, and you know what I could do, Jason, is I will write up something, you know, 1 or 2 page summary of how BVF operates in that aspect. You know, and that might be good for state organizations to look at. And, you know, with CVBBA, we actually shared our bylaws with them, our rules and regulations, and all of our forms. I don't want to do that with everybody across the country, but any state organization or regional organization would be willing to do that. As far as an individual, you know, what I recommend is if you probably have other people, and you said you have other brokers in your city that you think are good brokers, you know, pre-arrange ahead of time. If we're going to co-broke, you know, what's that percentage going to be? Is it going to be 50-50 for a deal under, you know, 1.5 and then 60-40, 1.5 to 5 million, and predetermine what that's going to be. And maybe at first you have different amounts for different people and just write it down and, you know, keep it, you know, on a bulletin board next to your desk that, you know, for this company it's 50-50 and this company it's 60-40. And, you know, if you're paying somebody, you know, 50% on a deal, on a co-broker and you're the listing agent, the next time if you're working with a buyer, make sure that you're getting 50-50 and you're not getting 60-40. I mean, it should be fair, you know, right?
How do you handle, for example, I charge what I would consider, based on Transworld training, a standard business brokerage fee.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the majority of the people who want to co-broker with me charge commercial real estate fees. So they want to come in and get half of what I got.
Yeah.
But half of what they got is a quarter of what I got.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that from a BVF
you can't handle that. I mean, at least in Florida, you can't handle that because you're breaking state laws by talking about, you know, commission structures.
That happens here too, Jason. I mean, that's even in our organization that happens.
Yeah. Keith, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Great. I sure can. Keith is joining us from Central Florida. He's a gentleman that I love to co-broker with.
So thank you, Jim, and all the other panelists for doing this. I just wanted to share, you know, a personal story. Last year, I was working with a business owner to secure listing, and everything about it was just looking fantastic. This was going to be a nice business. I was going to be really proud to bring this one to the market. And I got a follow-up phone call one day with the seller, and he says, "I'm sorry to inform you, I've decided to go with another broker." And I asked who the broker was. I knew the broker. I said, "Well, you know, they're a good broker. I wish you luck, and I'm glad. I hope it works out for you." This was, you know, the follow-up is I waited patiently to see that go into the MLS system, and then I had a buyer that I identified during the process. I was like, I think this might be good for this person. And I did wind up still selling that business. So what could have been a situation where I was totally cut out I was still able to sell that business for the seller.
You were still able to make money from it.
Correct. So I just, you know, looking at it, we always think these listings, they're our listing. That's my listing. But here is a situation where I didn't get the listing. It wasn't my listing, but I was still able to sell it. And I just think that's, you know, an example of a positive nature of co-broking.
Keith, I really appreciate you sharing that
and
with you.
It was a $1.6 million deal too. So
wow, so that was a big payday for you.
It was, you know, maybe half of what I've gotten had I listed it myself, but I was still happy to receive that paycheck.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that with us, Keith. Really appreciate it. And I'll tell you guys real quick. Last year, I spoke about this at the CVBBA conference. I had a deal last year at a listing for $2 million. It was a great business. I got it under contract. And the next day, after I got it under contract, I had a buyer call my office. Fantastic buyer, completely qualified. He had the money, motivated, experience. He had it all. And, but the business was already under contract. Well, I did a search, and I'm in Central Florida, and I found a business in South Florida that was not exactly what he was looking for, but it was pretty close. So I called him up and said, hey, I know you're not really looking at something like this, but hey, this is the benefit, and it might fit what you need, and would you take a look at it? And he's like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. We ended up going under. It was with another broker. It was a listing with another broker. It was actually a broker from Transworld, and it was a $3 million deal, and we got it closed. So that was great because I got my $2 million listing closed, and then I turned around, had a buyer from that I was able to sell a $3 million listing. And, obviously both those are big commissions. And, if I didn't have that buyer, if I didn't have that ability to co-broke, there's no way that I would have gotten that commission on the $3 million deal. And I'm going to tell you, I really don't think that Transworld broker in South Florida would have gotten that buyer if it wasn't for me, because that buyer was not looking at that type of a business. And I don't think they would have found it. And plus, it was a different geographical area. Stephen, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Yes, where are you calling from, Stephen?
I'm outside of Philadelphia. I've been in Sunbelt for 25 years. And my office is in southeastern Pennsylvania. We cover southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and Delaware.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us, Stephen.
So let me echo some of the things that both Greg Kells and Jason said. Talking about personal experience and also Pennsylvania business brokers, because I was president of Pennsylvania business brokers for several years, and we wrestled with the problem. The big problem is that once you agree with anyone on co-brokering, basically you've lost control of the listing. And early on, when I first started doing this, I was more open and receptive to it until I lost a couple good listings that we had, saleable businesses, when the person that I was co-broking with, that I agreed to co-broker with, basically turned off my seller. And that alerted me to a problem. So having lost a couple, there was a third one in which basically we were left to clean up the sand after the other broker had long left the sandbox. They brought a buyer. The buyer wanted to buy a business, and there had been so much mismanagement on the other side that we were left to clean up the mess. Ultimately, we got it done. The other problem we run into constantly is...
Okay, Stephen, do you mind if we address the first problem first?
Sure.
Okay, great. Does anybody on the panel want to handle that?
I think in any transaction, it's about controlling your deal. There's one point of contract. If you're the listing agent, you're setting forth the terms and conditions by which you're going to co-broker with. I have been co-brokering for decades, and I have never been able not to keep the other side under control and behave in a professional manner in the transaction. So I really think it's just, we talk about buyer, seller, and broker education, that all of those have to take place in advance of the transaction in order to have a smooth transaction. And it seems to me that you'd be best served by really setting down the game rules. If you want to co-broker with me, these are the rules, and this is what we expect to happen.
Let me echo what Roberta's saying. It's actually in the BBF rules and regulations that the listing agent controls how everything's going to take place. They're the ones that are going to control. No one talks to the seller except for the listing agent. They have to work through the listing agent. The listing agent determines how it's going to be shown. The listing agent's the one that's basically controlling the transaction. It's right there in the rules and regulations. And I really don't understand what the difference is between a broker or a broker, another broker or another broker's buyer being uncontrollable, and you having a buyer that's uncontrollable. You know, the fact is that, you know, you're the listing agent. You need to be able to control, your buyer, and you need to be able to control the situation. So what's the difference between, something getting out of hand there, if you're the one that's in control, and having a buyer doing the same thing to you? And I don't mean to be fictitious. I'm just asking, how do you do that?
Well, part of the problem is you have the relationship with the seller,
Mm-hmm.
and you spend time, and if you've done your work right, you created a relationship. Now you've brought somebody into it that they don't know. They don't know, where did these people come from? Why are they calling me? Why is this other broker now calling me saying that they're working with you on the list?
Oh, see, Stephen, you say that other broker should never call your seller directly, ever. That's a violation of our rules. Never, ever call your seller directly. They need to call you.
So you have more structured rules than we do. Just like with Jason, we don't have those sets of rules. All I was going to say is, to the extent that I co-broke at all right now, it will only be with a CBI, and only with somebody who has done transactions of a certain size and quality that I can feel confident. Basically, they're not going to mess it up.
Right.
Yeah.
I think to that point, I think the key to co-brokering is you have to have set rules. We have an association that has set rules. This is how you're going to behave. And, if someone who comes from outside of our association comes and says, hey, I've got to buy a realtor, for example, who's not in our association, doesn't understand the rules, doesn't, really know what they're doing, we don't co-broke with those people. That's the whole reason you have an association, the whole reason you have rules. And that's why we're talking to the associations, to set up rules, to set up guidelines for co-brokerage, because otherwise, like you're talking about, it's kind of the wild, wild west, and you can't trust the other broker sometimes.
Right. I'm going to add to what Treve was saying. In the BBF, every new member that joins the BBF, and it could be a company, or, if somebody joins Treve's existing company, Transworld, or joins Roberta's office, they are required to go through a 2-day orientation where, we talk in depth about the rules and regulations of the BBF and what each needs to expect from each other. So I think a large part of, maybe people from other states that are having problems co-brokering, they've had, issues come up. It might come to that you don't have a set rules and regulations, that everybody's on the same page of this is how it's going to happen. And that's what we've got in Florida. And again, it's not perfect down here, but we sell a lot of freaking businesses down here in Florida, and we've been extremely successful. I would give us an A+ on what we've done down here in co-brokering. So, Brian, are you with us?
Hey, I'm here up in Tampa, or over in Tampa. So how you guys doing? Thank you all.
Doing great. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Hey, I'm going to bring up 3 things that I like about co-brokering. Hey, everybody. It's funny. I've been doing this since 2004. I actually knew Roberta early on, one of the first people I ever knew in the industry. We won't go way, way, way back. That's super. I've always been big on marketing and presentation. Part of my background was in marketing. And I know when we put these CBRs together in good representation, I noticed that there were some brokers that hadn't done that. But I've sort of watched in our industry, we've become competitive as a nature. And other brokers have had to step up the bar as part of it. We make each other better. It's sort of like iron sharpens iron. I got one broker who's a friend of mine, and I look at his stuff. I'm like, he didn't do that years ago, and it's almost better than mine. I have to sort of step up my game a little bit. So one thing is we inspire each other to be better. A second thing about this is that, and I say this all the time, my competitors aren't any one of you on the screen or on the phone. It's the absence or the do-it-yourself, the people that don't understand that there's business brokers that specialize in what we do. But the more as a community that we're out there working together, the more other people, business sellers that is, start to see that there's a community of business brokers that can serve them. And so that helps my game a lot versus people calling up a real estate agent or putting something on the market. The third part of that I like about co-brokering is that it makes it easier for me to list, because I do know I have competition, and now I'm saying it's competition, other brokers that don't cooperate. And I can say to them, it's hard to find a broker that has a larger network between IBBA for me and the business brokers of Florida in my community. And we serve you, and I'm always going to go for sell the deal for 50% versus me holding on to it. And you need to ask any of the broker you interview whether they're doing that. So those are the three things I love about this, three of the things.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that input. Really do. And to touch on that part, what he was saying, I think that we do elevate each other's game, and I do a deal with the broker, and, I see, oh, wow, I really like the way they put their sim together, or I really like the way they do this. So I pick up my game and I start doing it that way. And then some things that I do, I see other brokers copy, and I think we're all picking up we're all taking each other's game to a next level, because we all want to be, look good as professionals, don't we? I think at the end of the day, people really want not only to sell businesses and make money, but they want to look good to their peers. And, they try to do their best they possibly can. So
one of the benefits of co-brokering is education. You're getting educated on how the other broker does things. You're learning new things, new processes. I mean, and vice versa. Like you said, it's a form of education and honing your craft.
It absolutely is, Joe. I walk out of closings. I used to walk out of closings and say, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What did the other broker do right? What did the other broker do wrong? And I always look at the other broker. What can I learn from them, good or bad? So I totally agree with you, Joe. Henry, you with us?
Yes, I am. I'm with Keller Williams down here in Coral Gables. And I want to make several comments. One, I'm primarily a commercial realtor. And in that space, co-brokering is probably the exception and not the norm. So I am a very strong proponent of co-brokering. Over on the BBF side, I thought we had some safeguards. I know one that comes to mind is the showing up point. If the potential buyer doesn't come represented, you can adjust the co-brokering participation, and I'm sure there are others.
Correct.
But my point is, I think we have some safeguards in our bylaws for those that may have bad experiences with co-brokers that are within the BBF, that you need to be aware of, and you need to bring them up if you're having difficulty with another, a BBF member. I haven't had that. I have my own challenges because being in Keller Williams, I list in the MLS what I have in the BBF, and I list in other platforms. So I end up being frustrated because I'm not working with a BBF co-broker. I have to deal with the residential brokers or commercial brokers that are not familiar with the BBF. So two other points I wanted to make, and I think they were made earlier, maybe by Roberta or by yourself. I know in the Southern District, for the past year and a half, the level of training and the frequency of training and the number of presentations that have been made by other brokers has really stepped up. And that it's not only the knowledge that you're gaining, is the ability to meet, many of these brokers that sometimes, because one of my concerns that I wanted to mention is I'll get a notification that another BBF broker generated an NDA and I never hear back. Yeah, and I'm wondering, what is this broker really doing, or what's really happening if he's got some buyers that are generating an NDA, so they're seeing my listing information, but I never hear back. That is more on the concern side of things. And I don't know if there's any other way around it, because I typically don't take the time. You have to go online, look them up, get a contact number or an email, but I've seen it happen so often that I just don't hear back. On that NDA. But anyway, I can say for the benefit of Greg and so forth, that the training has just been phenomenal in the Southern District. I've been doing this for about 4 years. I primarily do commercial and business brokerage, perhaps because my background is a CPA. So this is something that I really enjoy. And fortunately, the brokers that I'm with at Keller Williams, we don't allow many people to get into the BBF. These transactions are a little bit riskier than selling a condo or selling a townhome. So we have some very strict controls. But yeah, you're going to run into some, other realtors who are not in the BBF that are going to have obviously some challenges for you. But in the end, co-brokering is definitely the way to go. And I think overall with the BBF, my experience has been positive. I haven't had to invoke any, any bylaws or any safeguards to say, hey, I can't, co-share with you 50-50.
And so overall, you're very happy to be a member of the BBF and to be co-brokering.
Yeah,
right, Henry?
I mean, yeah, I get leads, all the time from BizQuest or from other sources, and not always is it a business broker. So I know I'm cut out for some challenges. The BBF allows you to present a pretty good snapshot of your business. So whoever is looking, whether they're represented or not, because I mean, as a consumer, you can go into the BBF MLS and do your own browsing, but you're going to see something there that either makes sense for you or not. Some of these other sources that I get business from, there's nothing there, so you're forced to call the person. And, sometimes I spend time calling somebody who's not represented or represented by a residential realtor that doesn't really know the rules of the game. So for me, it's all about, if I could just limit myself to the BBF, it would be great. But since I'm basically picking up business sometimes from residential realtors in the office, I mean, I list in the MLS as well. And it's just basically for coverage. But my experience has been positive. I mean, the only negative experience I can tell you has been with the reporting of closed sales. But it was just one instance. But I definitely want to commend, because I think the training has definitely picked up. I mean, I can remember every single month there was one topic or another happening. And like I said, it's also the ability to meet many of these brokers who perhaps were giving some of their clients an NDA on my listing, and I didn't know who they were.
Yeah. Hey, Henry, I really, really appreciate that call, and I appreciate those points. The confidentiality agreement, that happens to us. We'll have a buyer sign a confidentiality agreement on another broker's listing, and we never contact the listing agent because it comes back at a time that they're no longer interested in that business. They found something else, or they changed their criteria. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. That happens all the time. Russ,
or
you with
a lot of times you send it out, Jim, and the buyer never even signs
and the buyer,
it. Just because you generate it doesn't mean it gets signed.
Exactly. The buyer doesn't. That happens majority of the time, I think, Treve, really, that the buyer doesn't sign. You're absolutely right. Russ, are you with us?
Sure am. How are you, Jim?
Doing fantastic. Where are you calling from?
Honolulu, Hawaii.
Oh, nice. Wow. Well, if I co-broke with you, I'm going to have to come out to Hawaii.
Well, please do. Just a couple of comments. I'm also a member of BBF, Gulf Coast Atlantic Business Consultants.
Oh, okay.
So I have kind of an interesting border-to-border view. I guess the only place you can go further and not miss the border would be Guam, but that's another day. That's tomorrow there already. We have a listing in Guam, by the way, right as we speak. But my comment is this. I think if this doesn't get solved, it's going to reflect itself in licensing. You're probably aware that the state of Nevada requires a special, you're probably aware that the state of Nevada requires a special business license certificate.
Right. Yep.
In order to practice. So I think that's where it's going. If we don't figure this out, the state real estate commissions or some other controlling body is going to force that. Because the problem with co-broking, as several gentlemen have pointed out, and the lady as well, is when you don't have an equal amount of knowledge, you really don't have time to be either the coach or the educator. So if you become that, then you end up doing their job, and they get frustrated because you maybe don't do it as well as you should. You get frustrated because they should know better, but don't, and really, in a lot of cases, don't care. So.
Oh, Russ, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We lost you for a second. That was my bad. Hello, Russ?
I'll just throw out there, what he's talking about is, if the buyer's agent doesn't do a great job. I mean, that happens even in our group, but it's fairly rare. And there's no rule in our group that says that we get paid by equal work. A lot of times the seller's agent or the buyer's agent will do more of the work on a deal. And, it's just the way it is, but it all works out in the end. You have a bad experience here and there, but 95% of them are great experiences. And, it all works out in the law of averages. And it goes back to education and having a set of rules.
Treve, I totally agree with you. I mean, you're going to have good ones. You're going to have bad ones. I'm going to tell you, most of the people that I'm co-brokering with, and I do deals in Orlando and Tampa Bay, I tend to co-broke with the same people all over and over and over again because they're the top producers. It just happens that way. And it's even. I'm doing the work. I can trust that they're going to do the work. Yes, once in a while I work with somebody that might be brand new with a great company, but they're brand new as a business broker and they may not be up as par as somebody else. But you know what? Maybe I wouldn't have gotten that deal done if it wasn't for that person bringing the buyer towards me. And now they are, even though they're brand new, they're bringing a buyer towards me. I have a chance to get done. And you know what? I might have to do a little bit more work in that deal. The thing is that I might have to tutor or mentor them a little bit or give them a little bit of advice or talk to them. But you know what? Each and every one of us was brand new at one point in this industry. And, the one thing that we need to all do in this industry is give back to our industry and to, help the people down there and bring them back up. We can't be conceited and say, well, I know more than this person, I'm not going to help them. And if you're saying you're the most knowledgeable in this industry, I have a hard time believing that. I really do. I've been in this industry for 20 years, and every year that goes by, I learn more and more that I don't know very much at all. And the more I get involved in this industry, the more I realize there is things to learn. And I can learn that from other business brokers. And the knowledge that I do have, we should share that with other brokers that don't know as much as that we know. So I don't know. I hear that all the time about, disproportion, but I don't know. It happens in residential real estate. At the end of the day, I'm going to say this, at the end of the day, residential real estate agents co-broke with each other. It's normal in their industry. I cannot believe that in 2020 in the United States that we do not co-broke, and co-brokering is not a normal thing in this industry. I think that we're doing a disservice to our sellers by not co-brokering. Again, 20% of all businesses for sale actually sell. It takes 6 to 12 months to sell a business. These are national averages. As an industry, we could all be doing better. And you know what? By co-brokering, we're increasing the chances of selling the business. We're increasing the chances of selling it quicker. And we're increasing the chances of the seller getting the top price for that business because we have the ability to bring more buyers to the table. And you know what? At the end of the day, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get a lot of people upset, and they're going to email me. But you know what? It all boils down to this. If you're not willing to co-broke, you can make all the excuses in the world. You can say, hey, I don't want to co-broke with people that are inexperienced. And I'm not saying we should co-broke with residential real estate agents. We should co-broke with real professional business brokers. I do get that. But, you could say, I could find a buyer on my own, or I could get this, or I could do that. You make all the excuses at the end of the day, but you know what? This is going to get people upset. If you're not co-brokering, you're being greedy. I'm sorry. Scott, are you with us? Boy, I'm going to get a lot of emails for that one, aren't I?
Sorry, I just had to unmute my microphone. This is a great session, by the way, and I'm enjoying it. One of my frustrations has always been one of the frustrations that other people have mentioned already, and that's a qualitative one. Are the people you're dealing with, are they qualified to be brokers? And, it's interesting. I mean, Florida has tried to control it. We have the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, which requires licensing. Unfortunately, the licensing is in real estate. It's really not in business brokerage.
Right.
I spent, I guess, 120 hours in classes between my original real estate license and the sales post license training that you have to do in Florida. And if we spent 5 minutes of that 120 hours on business brokerage, it was a lot. So, I think the co-broking experience is always a better experience when the organizations that are promoting the co-brokering are involved in education. And I'm hoping at some point in Florida there'll be a separate license for business brokerage, where the curriculum will look more like the IBBA curriculum and not a real estate curriculum. So, I'd like to see our organization in Florida talking more about that. Just very quickly, and I don't want to take up a lot of time. About 6 months ago, I was looking for businesses for a buyer. I pulled our BLI, our business listing information sheet, off of the Florida BBF system. I saw a very nice net income. It turned out I was dealing with a inexperienced sales associate. And in the adjusted net income line, he put the gross profit number as opposed to the net income number adjusted. So, this is what happens when we don't control things.
Right. It does. Yeah, you're right. And again, I think most of the time the transactions are going pretty good. Don't you think, Treve, Roberta? Okay, they're on mute.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Greg, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you, Jim?
Good, doing very good. Hey, let's try to keep our comments and questions to 30 seconds. It's just we're going to wrap it up soon.
That's fine. I want to thank you for putting these on because they've been incredibly helpful, especially for someone like me who's only been brokering for a little over 2 years. And I want to say that I'm glad that the BBF does co-brokering. I think I agree with you 100%. It not only benefits the sellers, it benefits us. And I've never understood, coming from the sales background that I came from, why anyone would ever want to leave money on the table. Someone's offering you money for something. Why would you say no? And I think it goes back to what you said, Jim. Some people are just greedy. And I think that's what it gets down to, because why would you say, no, please don't give me your money. I don't want your money for my business. No, of course. If you can sell that quickly, then you can go out and get another listing, sell another business. It just, builds upon itself. So I hope we continue with this, and I hope that more people get on board with that. I understand everybody has a bad experience every once in a while, but that's anywhere. It doesn't matter what you're doing, who you're doing things with. Like you said, there's always going to be those people that are just difficult. But I think all of the benefits majorly outweigh any of the negatives that we do tend to run into.
Greg, I appreciate that. I totally agree with you that. And I think at the end of the day, even if you're taking half a commission, that you're making more money in a year's period of time by co-brokering, if you didn't co-broke. Lori, before we take any more calls, Joe, Treve, Roberta, it is 3:30. We've been on this call for an hour and a half. If any of you guys need to go, please get off. I know that you guys got a lot of things going on. We have some more hands raised, and I'm going to sit here as long as I need to get through as many questions as we can, because it's a passionate thing for me, but I don't have anything else on my schedule today. So if you guys need to get off, I totally understand. Lori, where are you calling from?
I am calling from Boca Raton.
Oh, well, welcome.
Thank you. Hey, Roberta. I've been a real estate broker for about 20 years now, and I just became a business broker about a year ago. And I really want to thank all of you on this call, because it's outstanding to work with the professionals that we've worked with from the BBF. And when you compare it to what goes on in commercial real estate, it's like the Wild West. It is completely unregulated. There's a lot of unprofessionalism, and two of the things that I've been super impressed with you guys is the level of professionalism and the level of training and support. Business brokering is very complicated, and it takes a long time to get really comfortable and good at it. And I've got a business background and a long commercial real estate background, and I consider myself a pretty intelligent person. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I would be 100% comfortable calling Roberta and saying, listen, I have this listing and it's above my head. Will you co-broker the listing with me if I felt that I couldn't do justice to it? But co-brokering and the way that you guys have set it up is brilliant, and it works really well, and it's a big level of comfort for me that I know when someone calls me to look at my listing, or when I want to look at somebody else's listing, that I'm going to get a professional who's going to be happy to hear from me and work with me. And, you know, the amount of time and effort that you all have put into making this work, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you. It's, you know, there's all different perspectives, and I've heard what everybody said today, but as somebody who, you know, you could look down on and say, oh, you know, she came in from a real estate perspective. Yeah, I did. But I respect the BBF and everything that you stand for. And
Can I just say that Lori has been to just about every educational seminar, trying to improve her knowledge base and be worthy of the industry. So kudos to you, Lori, for investing in yourself.
Thank you, Roberta. I really do appreciate that. And I want you to know that as a broker, because I am a broker, I meet with my agents every day, and I would never consider having an agent join the BBF that wasn't going to be putting in the amount of effort to really work with somebody who knows what they're doing until they know what they're doing and get the education.
Lori, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those kudos. And Roberta, you have been doing a fantastic job down there in South Florida.
Even her dog was excited about it.
Yeah, her dog. Yeah, absolutely. Keith, are you with us again? You're on mute if you are. And I'm going to bring Edward in because I think Keith is not there. Edward? Can you hear us, Edward?
Can you hear me, Jim?
Yes, sure can. Where are you calling from, Edward?
Charleston, South Carolina. How y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Ed.
How you doing? This is Ed Pendarvis in Charleston, South Carolina. I'll just give you a quick little history on co-broker. This is a great meeting today. Enjoyed all of y'all comments and your leadership, Jim, and what you're doing. Years ago, when I was on the board of IBBA, we had a meeting in Santora, Texas. And we had an early morning meeting before breakfast at 7 o'clock. Cless Diglio was the chairman of the organization, and he and Andy were going to put on a presentation. We were going to debate the pros and cons of co-broking. Now, everybody in Florida likes co-broking. You talk about co-broking in Texas, you're looking for a fist fight. We had a situation there, and we had a breakfast meeting. There were 23 people in the meeting, and Cless made a presentation, Andy made a presentation, and 12 people walked out. So I said, I don't think we're going to be able to solve this at this meeting. So we're still talking about it. It's come a long way, though. And our professionalism has come a long way, mainly through education. I commend y'all. Florida's always had a wonderful educational program. IBBA, California, Texas, all of them. And of course, we do in-house training, both the Sunbelt, the Transworld, all of them, Murphy. VR has their own programs too, and we keep raising the level of education and professionalism. That's good for everybody. I think we're getting step by step into co-broking, and in many cases we do a referral fee sometimes, if not a full co-broke, depending on the person's participation from the other side. But Florida is a real estate state, so you got more of a push for co-broking, and you even have a transaction broker designation down there, which nobody else has, which actually better defines what our role is from a standpoint. So anyway, just want to tell you, appreciate what y'all are doing. Thank you so much. And I'm mighty proud of you and proud of all the success that we're doing and helping people buy and sell businesses and come through this pandemic and get through the other side of it and keep pushing the economy through Main Street small businesses, which is the backbone of the economy. Thank you for what you're doing.
Edward, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That we are the backbone of this economy because we're helping the small business owners. And I know, and something that he said, I just want to elaborate. We are doing a lot of education down here. We have our own education the BBF puts on, but we also really encourage classes with the IBBA. We are constantly putting on summits. We put 2 IBBA summits on a year. And you got to remember, because we are a co-brokering organization, we have an invested interest in our members getting as much education as they possibly can, because these are people that we are going to be co-brokering with. So everybody wants to educate everybody as much as they possibly can so that we can all do deals better, more easier, and more successful. So I think that's another reason why it elevates everything. Greg, I don't know if you're calling back in or not, but I'm going to bring you in because I know we were going at it earlier. Greg, are you there? Or is that a leftover?
Nope, it's not
Okay.
leftover. I got one other comment I want to put on the table.
Are you going to let me buy you a beer at the IBBA conference, first of all, or are you mad at me?
Absolutely.
All right, excellent. We're still
No,
friends.
no, I'm not mad at all. Come on. What, all of us in business brokerage for a win-win deal. We want our buyer to be successful when they take over the business, and we want it to be a fair deal for both the buyer and the seller. And that means we're involved in the structuring of the transaction. And it takes a lot of creativity in many cases to come up with the right structure that makes it a win-win deal and makes it fair and results in success. To do that, the broker needs to know the thinking of the buyer and the thinking of the seller. And so in those instances where you are co-brokering, you got to get the brokers on both sides sharing everything they know and understand about their client with one another. Otherwise, you will not come up with the right solutions, the right structures, and it won't be win-win deals. We're not in a commodity business. We're changing people's lives. Whatever we do affects them so much in the future. And we have a huge responsibility. And so if you are co-brokering, you got to share everything with one another to come up with the right solution for both clients.
Totally agree.
Now you're lucky on this session. You had Steve Rosen, who's one of the best brokers in the country. I learned from Steve when I was 20 years ago getting into the game. You had Ed Pendarvis, my mentor, okay? Ed taught me everything I know about Main Street business brokerage. These are people who have a heart, and the heart is about achieving the goals of both clients, both, not one, both.
Right.
And so when you're co-brokering, to achieve the goals of both, the two brokers really have to share and work together.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I say on top of that, I did a deal last year where I don't think I co-broked it. I was working with a buyer and another agent, you know, another agent with another company had the seller. And I'm going to tell you, I really do not think I could have worked with his seller. I could not have worked with him. My personality and the seller's personality, it would have been a major, major clash. And, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years. So my personal opinion is when I meet with a seller and there's something that I don't think I'm going to be able to work with them, I won't take it on as a listing because I know it's going to be a hard situation all the way through. And I really don't think that other broker that I was working with was a really good broker, very good broker, very seasoned. I don't think he could have worked with my buyer. I really don't think he had the patience to work with my buyer. And I think because I had the personality to work with my buyer and he had the personality to work with the seller, we got the deal done. And I don't think we would have gotten the deal done if it was just one of us doing the transaction. Roberta, Treve, Joe, anybody have anything to add on that?
Yeah, everybody saw Ed Pendarvis on there. One of the sayings that Andy always says is if there was a Mount Rushmore of business brokerage, that Ed would be the first face on Mount Rushmore. And it's great to see him, you know, active and back out there. I was really, really happy to see his name pop up there.
That's awesome. And, you know, I got to say this, I think that if there was a Mount Rushmore, I think Andy Cognato would be the most recent chiseled face in that. And I have a lot of respect for him. Frank, are you with us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Thank you for allowing me to join you and appreciate all the information. Roberta, good to see you as always.
Likewise,
Steve, my best friend. Joe, good to see you in person. Real quickly, my name is Frank Filer. I am the Corporate Director of Training and Operations for VR Business Brokers. So in any given week, I deal with anywhere from 60 to 100 franchisees all over the country. Most of these people do not have a state association, and they're always looking because they train in Florida. They understand what the BBF is all about, And so my comment is really geared mainly to the people that are not in the state of Florida on this call today. Some 35 years ago, when I first got into this business, we had an issue that we didn't have enough listings. I had 2, and somebody else had 4, another one had 3, and that's all we had. And so we got together and we said, you know what, if we share listings, we'll all have more listings and more inventory to sell. And it made a lot of common sense. So Joe, for you in North Carolina, Greg, Canada, Russ in Hawaii, Jason in Ohio, there's 3 components of getting your group together to start this happening. And you got to deal with people that you know, like, and trust. And in this business broker industry, there's no more important things than those 3. You know them, you like them, and you trust them, and you get together, and it all starts over a cup of coffee. And if you use those fundamental keys to getting together and understanding that we can all be in this together, then it works very, very well. It's been working in Florida for over 30 years. It will work in your state just as well. And you're fortunate to have a guy like Jim Parker who's promoting it. And Jim is no better guy that you could ever have in the world to help you get it launched. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Frank, I appreciate that. Thank you, because I feel like half the callers on here now hate me. So I appreciate that endorsement. Jim, it looked like you wanted to say something, buddy.
No, that was all. I was just, Frank was who got me in the business. So it's just another person out there that I saw that made me smile.
Frank's a really super good guy, really great guy. Thank you for calling in, Frank. George, we only got a couple more. George, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks. I just wanted to chime in. Austin, Texas. I am very pro co-brokering, even though we're not a state that it's mandated. I think it's a violation of fiduciary not to, because your job is, when you have a listing, when you have a seller, to sell their business. That said, I do struggle with the concept of equal share commission in the state of Florida, because I really believe that there's a lot of overhead if you're doing your job right. I don't care whether it's Main Street or lower middle market. There's a lot of overhead with bringing a company on. And as you said earlier, Jim, it takes a lot of time to sell a company. So I think that effort should be rewarded. And there's also the concern about the company dollar versus the production dollar that goes to the actual broker if you're running a shop that has multiple brokers, and you've got to be able to run your business. So, my 2 cents on the matter is co-broke, absolutely. Should it be a 50-50 deal like real estate? Real estate is a little easier to bring on listings, and I've been in real estate, residential and commercial, and certainly there's a lot less effort involved in, particularly on the residential end. So that's the only challenge that I have with the model right now, and I get a lot of folks coming to me with buyers sometimes, and I'm happy to talk co-broke, but they want a 50-50 split, and if I've been working with a client for more than a year, I have a problem with that.
Right. But you overall, you're a big believer in co-brokering, George. I mean, putting aside the commission split, you think it's a good thing.
No, it's yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, you violate the fiduciary to your client. Your job is to get the company sold.
Yep, absolutely.
And so you need to look at every person that wants to buy the business.
George, I really appreciate that. Any other comments before we leave?
No.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you for
It's been
sharing
a really,
that with us.
really good webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Alfredo, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I'm admiring Roberta. How are you? Well, I'm in Coral Gables in Florida, and I would like to get back to the issue of the realtors. I'm enrolled in the Realtors Association too, and it's a nice resource, when you're looking for small businesses, because they have, beside the 3,000 plus that you mentioned, Jim, there are about 1,000 small businesses that are listed in the MLS, in the MLX of the realtors. And usually I have seen a lot of friends and colleagues from BBF who list their listings in the Realtors Association. Mm-hmm. In my case, I have few listings listed because I'm trying to rebuild since few months ago my portfolio, but it's quite interesting to advertise in this website. So, but the problem is that when you're trying to put a listing in this unfriendly site, you know, you have to find out what an area is, a municipality, the folio, you know.
You're talking about Realtor MLS, right?
The Realtors MLS.
Yeah.
You know, boxes that ask you for how many bedrooms do you have, you know, things that have nothing to do with the business brokerage. So what I would like to propose is that maybe in this spirit of education that you have, you know, if you create a course whose name could be brokerage, business brokerage for realtors, would be quite interesting. And to even signing, well, it will help, you know, it will help.
No, that I don't know. Treve, you want to address that first, if that's okay?
You know, I think that if you don't do business brokerage for a living, and having trained a lot of people over the years, it's impossible for someone, you know, a realtor to just come in and do one deal and get into the co-brokerage thing and be able to really give a quality service to the clients. And so that's why we really don't co-broke with realtors. Even if they say, hey, I did a deal 3 years ago, look, it was 3 years ago and things change. And you know, it's just really, really difficult to do business brokerage with people who aren't doing it full time, and that's what they do, because you end up just you retrain everybody all the time, and it's just too difficult. I wouldn't be up for something like that.
I would not be up for something like that either. I agree with Treve. I think residential real estate and business brokerage are, you know, even though in Florida we share the same license, they couldn't be more opposite of what they do. I think business brokerage takes a long, long time to really grasp what it really is like to be a business broker and to really be a successful and helpful business broker. It's a long training period. And on top of that, I remember, you know, a few years ago talking about the Realtor MLS and, you know, people putting business listings up there. I know about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a very large bar for sale. I think it was for sale for $1.8 million. And the bar owner, I got along with him great. Went down there, got along great. He listed the business. We every time I talked to him, great rapport. About a week goes by after I had the listing, and he called me up. And as soon as I picked up the phone, I knew he was very, very upset at me. He was pissed off. And I'm like, Eric, what's up? I mean, what's wrong? And he goes, Jim, you know, I'm really upset because I was just talking to my realtor that's selling my house, and he says that he's been all over the Realtor MLS and he cannot find my business for sale. What's going on? And I go, you know what, Eric? I am so sorry, but I've been all over the BBF MLS system looking for your house for sale, and I can't find your house for sale.
Good one.
It's two totally different animals. I do not look on the Realtor MLS. I don't think any of my buyers look on the Realtor MLS. I'm not a realtor. If I was a realtor, I wouldn't put it on the MLS. I don't think we should pass a rule in the BBF that you can't put it on the MLS, but it's a different animal. You know, you can't put a house for sale on the BBF. I mean, you know, you're not going to list a house for sale on the BBF. So it's just two totally different animals.
I have to say goodbye to everyone. I've been honored to be part of this panel. It's something I believe in so totally. So thank you for giving me a voice, and look forward to working with each of you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roberta. I appreciate you being here. And if anybody else needs to go, they can go. I've got 2 more that I was going to beep in, but if anybody else needs to go, I totally understand. Thank you, Roberta.
All right. Bye-bye now, gentlemen.
George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, great. Did you have any other questions or comments?
No.
No? Okay, sorry. Henry, are you with us?
Yeah. Just a couple of comments on what the last gentleman said. The MLS simply does not work for business opportunities, and for that matter, it doesn't even work for commercial real estate. They're in the process of revamping. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because I've run across this before, if you list in the BBF and you are going to list in the MLS, number one, you have to be registered with the BBF, and you have to be the one who lists on the MLS as well. That's something that Flo Jacobson, clarified. Sometimes a real estate realtor wants to put it on the MLS and then have you put it on the BVF. That's a violation. So be careful with that. Don't go to the MLS for business opportunities. As a gentleman pointed out, it's very hard to get the information. It's just not designed for that. That's why the BVF exists.
Yep. Right. Hey, I appreciate that, Henry. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Treve, Joe, I really appreciate you guys being on the call today. I know we went almost 2 hours. It's the longest webinar we've had. I usually would have cut it off, but it is what it is. I thought it was really important. I really appreciate you guys hanging in there.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Treve.
No problem, Jim. Thanks everybody for calling in and throwing it out there.
To all the other people that are listening in right now, I'm surprised we still got 75 people in attendance listening to this, and I'm really glad you attended today. I know I'm very passionate about co-brokering. It's something that I totally believe in. I'm glad that we had this webinar, and I think there was a lot of great things that we talked about, but I do got to say that I do not feel like I got across to you all in attendance all the pros to co-brokering and talk about the arguments against the cons of co-brokering. I think this is something that we need to do across the country. I really do. And I am passionate about it. I am going to create a shorter video where it's just me, where I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of co-brokering and hopefully get across to you why I truly believe in co-brokering. And I do think that it's something that I think brokers from all over the country need to do. And I've told people over the years that, that's the one thing before I leave this industry and I retire and go into my RV, I would love to push co-brokering across the country. And that's just because I believe in it. But anyways, that's it for today. I'll make this video available on YouTube. And until then, work hard, work smart, and keep making those buyer-seller connections. Thank you.